How many? How many? Tell me.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Culkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC, part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every day. Whether you're watching the show on YouTube, whatever platform you're downloading your podcast on, this show is always free, and I always appreciate your support. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Did you know that in 2019, the Alabama Crimson Tide scored 47 points per game? Now, that roster was loaded on the opposite side of the ball. You had two future first-round quarterbacks. You had four first-round wide receivers. That's crazy. Their quarterbacks at the time on that roster who ended up becoming first-round draft choices: Tua Tagovailoa and Mac Jones. Their wide receivers, first-round draft picks: Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs III, Devontae Smith, Heisman Trophy winner, and Jalen Waddle. Now, that 2019 team, they ended up going 12-2. They lost the two games they lost. They lost to number 2 LSU 46-41, and then they lost their conference championship game to Auburn 48-45. They ended up thumping Michigan in their bowl game, the Citrus Bowl. I think the score was 35-16. So where am I going with this, right? The only parallel I am drawing is USC's ability to score a lot of points. And USC having potentially 4 first-round wide receivers. Okay, maybe 3. But Zachariah Branch, Deuce Robinson, Jacoby Lane, and Mekhi Lemon, they ooze NFL. And Kyron Ware-Hudson just continues to work and produce when the ball's thrown his way. So I just threw his name out there. He's not a day 1 guy. He's probably not even a day 2 guy. But I think he is going to be in the NFL. Tua and Mac Jones, they combined for 4,500 yards throwing the ball. And the Crimson Tide ran for almost 2,200 yards that year. I'm thinking USC can put up similar numbers. Maybe not 47 points per game. But I think 35 to 40 points per game isn't out of the realm of reality. Look, USC doesn't have New Mexico State or Western Carolina on their schedule to inflate their averages. So you're not going to get some 60-point games out of those 2 games. And look, I'll just kind of remind everybody, the Trojans, they're out of conference schedule. They open up with LSU. They come home and take it easy against Utah State, much better than New Mexico State. And then they finish off the year at home against Notre Dame. So there's a slight difference. Now, if USC can run for 2,000 yards with their running backs like Alabama did and throw for 3,500 plus yards, even better. Last year, we're kind of just looking at the schedule. First game of the year, LSU's defense, they gave up 28 points per game. It's why they went out and got a new defensive staff, and it's why they have some similar issues to USC on the defensive side of the ball. We know USC couldn't stop the run. Well, neither could LSU. They gave up 161 yards per game last year. And I highly doubt that the Tigers are going to be some sort of defensive juggernaut in game 1. And I'm quite sure that they don't want any of the wide receiver smoke that USC is bringing. In 2023, LSU's pass defense, they surrendered 3,300 yards. USC, they weren't that much better, only 3,200 yards. Now, I have explained, and I'll do it more and more as we get closer, the big conference defensive stats, those stats get inflated because they're playing against each other. And besides Ohio State, I really don't think anybody else in that conference has what I would consider a prolific offense. I think it's going to be fascinating to watch how this whole thing plays out this season. In other words, will Coach Riley make the opponent try and play catch up? Is he going to try and score quickly, or will the big conference opponents, will they try and play keep away, slow the game down, shorten the game? Because again, there aren't too many teams that can score as easily as USC can, even when they're playing against so-called good defenses. Cough, Louisville, cough. And I could say the same thing. Look, USC's played some good defenses in the Pac-12. Utah is known for having, physical, strong defenses. And I understand that USC lost those games, but the Trojans' offense was not the issue in any one of them. So, look, we talked about LSU. I think USC is going to be able to put up points against them. Michigan, they're going to return a good defense, but they're replacing a lot. And we're going to see what they can do offensively. That's going to be a interesting game to see. How much does Sharon Moore try and slow this game down? I don't think he wants to get into any type of scoring contest with USC. I think USC will be fine at home against Utah State. At home against Wisconsin, you bet your butt that Lincoln Riley is going to want to. I don't think he'll want to embarrass Alex Grinch, but I think he needs to make a statement. It's not personal, it's business. At Minnesota, yeah, they're going to put some points up. At home against Penn State, look, we know James Franklin likes to he likes to score, he likes to play it loose on offense. We saw how USC and Clay Helton's team performed against him in the Rose Bowl. I can see some offensive fireworks in that game. Maryland, Rutgers, who cares? USC is going to score points in those games. On the road in Seattle against the Huskies, how many did they score last year against the team that went to the playoffs? I understand USC gave up 50, but USC still scored. Nebraska at home, come on. And then USC finishes up with at UCLA and at home against Notre Dame. Rivalry games, anything can happen, yada, yada, yada. Points aplenty will be happening. So, again, that Alabama team in 2019, they were loaded on offense, right? Well, I think it's a fair statement to say that USC is pretty well stocked on offense at the skill positions. I'm not saying Miller Moss or Jaden Mayava are first-round draft choices. However, if Miller goes out and leads USC to the playoffs, his stock is going to rise in the NFL with the GMs, with the evaluators. I just want to see a little bit more. But with what USC has to play catch with and their running backs, is USC scoring 5 to 6 touchdowns per game? I don't think that's too much to ask for, is it? I mean, 5 touchdowns is 35 points. 6, 42 points, assuming they make their extra points. Again, not out of the realm. I know it's going to come down to, trench warfare. How well can USC's offensive line come together, protect the quarterbacks, open some running holes? If everything comes together on the opposite side of the ball, I think USC will score the points they need to. So how many points per game? We're not talking about how many yet. We're going to take it down a different rabbit hole in the next segment. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers, you're going to get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on the point spreads, the money lines. You like player prop bets? You like to do more than that? Get on over to FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Are you watching Fox Sports? You're watching ESPN? whatever channel you're watching on. Is it on your TV all day? Are you turning down the volume because you're just tired of all the yelling, all the screaming? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news. And it's streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. How many 5 stars will USC end up with at the end of the 2025 recruiting cycle? I briefly mentioned on yesterday's episode of Locked On USC, my everydayers heard this. You heard it first. That Isaiah Gibson, one of the commitments to USC's class, defensive lineman, he picked up his 5th star. That means USC now has 3 5 stars, the same as Ohio State. No one else has more. Juju Lewis, quarterback. Justice Terry, defensive line. Isaiah Gibson, defensive line. All 3 of those guys, they're from Georgia. In June, just a couple of weeks away, the official visits, they're starting to roll large. They're coming in heavy, they're coming in large, they're coming in strong. And USC's got a lot of elite talent coming in on the 7th and the 21st. Those are their 2, call them the weekend bashers. Again, there's a couple of weekend bashers that I've told you about. I'm going to tell you about each one of them as we get closer to each one. So right now, again, you have the committed 5 stars that I talked about. Juju, Justice Terry, Isaiah Gibson. And then these are the 5 stars that are visiting. You've got Elijah Griffin from Savannah, Georgia. You've got Jared Smith from Alabaster, Alabama. And you have Jonah Williams from Texas. That's the safety prospect. Some think he might play linebacker. He's a really good football player. How many more will USC's class end up with? How many more 5 stars? They may have 3 right now. 1 would be great. 1 more, giving USC 4, that would be great. That would be fantastic. If they got 2 more, I think that would be categorized as the, oh my God, let's all dress up like Frank the Tank and let's go streaking. In other words, let's take off all our clothes. Let's go have some fun. If you saw the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And we can't talk about what I would do on this show if all 3 of those dudes decided to jump on the Trojans train. I'll just put it this way. Let's just say the Vegas rule goes into effect immediately. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. If USC gets all 3 of those guys to commit and sign on letter of intent day, giving USC 6 5 stars, yeah. I'm having some fun. And I'll let you know about it, what I can on the show. Realistically, I think USC's best chance is with Jared Smith, the defensive lineman, the edge defensive end from Alabama. Jared is already set. He's already set to visit Georgia on June 7th. Official. These are official visits. Then he's got South Carolina coming up this weekend, I believe, or next weekend, excuse me, the weekend of May 31st. Tennessee, June 14th. And he's actually already taken an official visit to Ole Miss. That was back in April. USC has the last one, June 21st. 6'6", 255 pounds. He was among the visitors who took an unofficial visit to USC. I think he did his in February, if I remember correctly. Now, I already told you that Gus Cordova is underrated and Trajan Odom is trending to USC. Jared Smith is going to be making his official visit that weekend of June 21st, along with Elijah Griffin, Justice Terry, Trajan Odom, Brandon Brown, and Gus Cordova. So again, this is a huge, huge weekend. Now, what I found really interesting as I was reading off Jared's official visit dates, you didn't hear Alabama mentioned, did you? No official visit date, at least one set. Now, he's close enough that he can stop by that campus anytime he wants. Then again, maybe the new staff, the Crimson Tide's new staff, maybe their clout just doesn't resonate, kind of like Nick Saban's clout resonated with defensive players. Whatever the reason, again, USC has the last official visit date, and that bodes well for the Trojans, for Coach Henderson, for Coach Nua. When Jared took his unofficial visit back in February, this is what he said. This is what he talked about when he spoke with WeAreSC.com. Coach Henny is a great person. He tries to relate to you as much as he can, and that's what I like about him. He just doesn't talk about football. He talks about life outside of football, and I like that a lot. He coached where I'm trying to go, referring to the NFL. That's the end goal, to get where he's coached. So just him coaching Aaron Donald, laying hands on him and seeing the outcome, why not? You know? He's considered by many to be the best defensive lineman to ever do it in the NFL, close quote. Let me editorialize that a little bit. That why not, part that I just read you, that could get strengthened to let's just do this by the time he's done with his official visit. He's going to go home. He's going to kind of weigh all of his options and say, you know what? I've heard everything I needed to hear. I've seen everything I needed to see. Let's do this. Jared also said that distance will not be a factor for him. To me, location doesn't matter. The right fit is the right fit for me. First, you got to like the place you're at. That's first. And then development. Development is key because I'm trying to get to the NFL. So development is also key. I can't say this enough. Coach Henny, Coach Nua, they need to put a stranglehold on him. Do not let him leave without a silent commitment. If you're Coach Riley, I'm suggesting to Coach, you know what? Go have one of those private sunset moments together. If you haven't seen it, Coach Riley's got a beautiful home in the Palos Verdes Estates. It's up there on the peninsula. You walk out your back door and all you see is Pacific Ocean. Yeah. He needs to go sit down, put his arm around his shoulder, and say, let's have a sunset moment. Tell you why you want to come to USC. USC has their sights set on a lot of the best guys from all over the country, right? And logic dictates, the more guys you go after, the better chances you're going to have of landing 1, 2, 3, or more. Again, the first rule of sales, ask for the sale. You don't get it if you don't ask for it. Same thing. You want to have as many customers out there to say yes. That's where we're going with this. The staff is in place. Okay, Lincoln Riley went out, got a defensive staff that's second to no one in the country. They have enough resume cachet for the recruits. I don't think that's going to be an issue. Convincing the guys, the prospects, hey, you know what? I can get the job done. However, it is going to be important that these elite guys, they're going to want to see the results on the field. So even though they're committed, you're going to eventually have to get into the prove it mode. What the recruits, what the prospects, what they want to see, they just want to make sure that the guys who are doing the developing and the guys who are being developed, that they look like they know what they're doing, right? Be fundamentally sound. Develop on a weekly basis. Because even if those things happen, even if USC loses a game, that's what the players are focusing on, the recruits. They just want to make sure that, hey, they look like a football team. They don't look like they don't know what they're doing. And that's what USC was recruiting against, trying to get defensive players to come to USC using the old scheme. It just wasn't working, wasn't happening. Players don't want to hear it because you can't lie to what people see. Right now, USC has 3 5-stars. Again, the most in the country. No, they're tied with the Buckeyes. Everybody who watches Locked On USC, listens to me talk, you know my thoughts about the stars. Okay. I'm not a big fan of the star rating system. But if we're keeping things in the proper context, I'm talking about the best players at their positions, voted on by the coaching staffs who have offered. That's how I do my gauge. Which program is offering? If you've got the top programs in the country offering, you're a 5-star. You're a really good player. Even if you're rated a 3-star. If Alabama and Georgia and USC and Ohio State and Michigan and Oklahoma and Texas, if those programs want you, you're a really good player. Don't worry about some sort of subjective rating that some dude in the middle of nowhere is putting on you that might have not even seen you play up close in person. Recruiting is fluid. We talk about it all the time. We use the F word over here almost all the time when we talk about recruiting. However, USC is trending in the right direction. That's a positive sign. And that's all anybody should care about right now, because you can't sign them if they're not interested. And right now they are interested in USC. So everything is going in the right direction. So how many? Right now, USC's got 3 committed 5-stars. How many are they going to end up with when the 2025 recruiting cycle is all over? Give me a number. Hit me up in the comments section. Tell me. I remember being a big-time Laker fan and going to the playoffs back at the Great Western Forum when Magic was doing his thing. Big game, James Worthy, as well as at Staples Center when Kobe was doing his thing. Rest in peace, Mamba. If your team is still alive in the playoffs, then with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the best price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. And with all-in prices, they're going to show your total up front. That way, you know what you're getting. You're getting a great deal, and you're getting that before you check out. And you can buy your tickets in seconds. Literally, it takes you 2 taps and you're done. Oh, by the way, Trojan fans, get your tickets for that game in Las Vegas against LSU. Don't wait. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. And the Game Time guarantee means you always get the best price. So if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKED like David, ON like Nancy for $20 off. Download the Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. It's Friday. It's time for the Friday rant. Let's get drunk for the next 100 days. 100 days until kickoff is on the wall. 100 bottles of beer. Okay, not going there. I couldn't carry a tune if you strapped it to my back. But again, we're 100 days away from kickoff. Yeah. I started to put together some, 100 random thoughts that I'm going to be thinking about from now until kickoff. And like I said, as we get closer, I'm going to knock one of those beers off the wall. So right now we got 100 days. Okay, after that, got 99 bottles of beer left on the wall. So what are some of your random thoughts? Here's some. I'm going to get you started with a list. First offensive play from scrimmage. Is it going to be a run play? Is it going to be a pass play? Remember, we're going up against LSU. How many yards will USC gain on their first play on offense? What do you expect? Will USC defer if they win the coin toss? Or is Lincoln Riley going to want the ball first? We're going to see how much growth Coach Riley has. I have a feeling they win the coin toss. They're going to defer. We're going to roll Antonlynn's defense out there on the field. Let's get this thing started right. And since we're talking about defense, how many yards will the Trojan defense give up on their first run attempt? Same question applies to the pass defense. How many yards? See where I'm going with this? Just random thoughts. I still don't know who the home team is. So what color jersey is USC wearing in Las Vegas? Who's the home team? If you come to the USC home games and you get there early enough for the Trojan walk when the team comes down the peristyle, well, when the bus drops them off out there, the headless naked guys, you know. Dennis Lynch, the kicker, he's one of the more eclectic dressers. Guys, his wardrobe, it's out there. I wonder what he's going to be wearing. Can the Trojans offensive line, can the starting five go injury-free in 2024? That's me knocking on wood. When will my face stop hurting because I'm smiling so much because the defense looks like a real defense? I hope I brought a smile to everybody's face with that one. Can the Trojans have a 100-yard rusher and a 200-yard wide receiver in the same game? When was the last time that happened? Imagine if that happens against LSU. This one's a little internal. How long is it going to take for the USC brass to allow Reggie Bush to lead the team out of that tunnel, run the team out to the sideline with that Heisman Trophy under his arm? When's that going to happen? Who scores the first touchdown for USC, right? Which national expert, we've been talking about this during the offseason, all the shade that's been thrown at USC. So which national expert is going to say the Trojans are back? Who's going to be first after they beat LSU and Michigan in their first 3 games? Because it's going to happen. USC is going to open the season 3-0. And all of a sudden, we're back. All the hype. All right. So kind of wanted to get you started. Give me some more thoughts. We got 100 days till kickoff. Wow. It's going to be here sooner than you know it. Now, let's get a little mini rant going in here. So much for the no more Pac-12 after dark. Look, I get it. There is no more Pac-12. But USC is scheduled to play a Friday night game against Rutgers. Fortunately, the game's in Los Angeles. It's going to start at 8 p.m. West Coast time, which means it's 11 o'clock in New York and New Jersey. What makes this game, why USC is playing this Friday night game, it's the game that's leading into this game. Fox has the first game of the World Series that night, that day. All I'm saying is if you want a big TV audience for USC versus Rutgers, if you want the East Coast around at 11 o'clock, it better be the Dodgers and Yankees doing the lead-in. That better be your World Series game. Or else I'm telling you right now, the East Coast fans, they're going to be dozing off by halftime. Look, it could be worse, USC fan, Trojan family. Could be Oregon. You could be doing 2 Friday night games in 2024. By the way, for the Oregon fans who watch this show daily, was that too condescending? Did you not like the cadence of my voice? Too arrogant. Too bad. So there you go. Another episode of Locked On USC in the books. I'll be back with another 5 episodes next week. I'm going to have some updates on recruiting. I'm going to have some updates on the team. I'm going to have a lot more to talk about. So until then, everyone, when you're done making Locked On USC your first listen every day, head on over to wearesc.com. Go check out all the recruiting information we have for you. If you're not a subscriber, it costs you $1. And if you're not a subscriber to this show, why not? If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Smash that thumbs up. And don't forget to hit that bell notification button. That way, you do not miss an episode and you don't miss out on anything. And you're really going to help this channel grow. So until then, everyone, you know what to do. Enjoy your weekend.